talk a lot about being the chief troublemaker. I had to break the rules that made no sense so that I could rise the ranks. The problems are still the same. And so I don't call it male-female issues. I call it caregiving and leadership. Leadership needs to take responsibility, whether you're a man or a woman, race, age, it doesn't matter. If you're a leader in a position of power, write the rules that are going to allow everyone to bring their best selves, their whole selves, their true selves to the table. We've had that pre-COVID caregiving issue. You can't work the same long hours. You can't travel the same amount. We're still as talented, if not more talented, but we get dinged, in the bias barriers on so many levels. And now with COVID, not only are we caregivers, but now we're also homeschoolers. These are the issues. If we could tackle flexibility, fluidity in the workplace and create that culture of belonging, as we say, so we can all bring our best selves and accommodate around life stage and lifestyle, especially in COVID, we would be creating progress forward versus going backwards, because we've been waiting, watching, and saying we just set ourselves back another 20 years because we're homeschooling now. The difference between then and now is that it's leveled the playing field. Men and women are all at home. It didn't make sense was women were the exception. And I talk about that. The reason I broke all the rules was I was tired of being the exception. I wanted to be the new norm. And so what's happened in COVID, which is a silver lining if we take this forward, is men and women are now working at home. We're all in the same place of not being at the office. And so that is a very differentiator that, it's no longer, she's at home taking care of the kids. I'm at the office, so I have the leg up. We're all at home now. Women still is disproportionately taking care of all the stuff at home because the men just don't have that down. And the company was called Video Storyboards. And what I loved about that experience was we were all equals. We all had different roles. I was so it was a market research company. I thought it was an ad agency. It was a market research company. I actually got a D in statistics. So how I ended up in market research, I have no idea. But what I loved was learning about people. And we used to do storyboard testing. Dave would have a brilliant idea jar where we would all put our ideas in the jar. And then by the end of the day, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, those were the days, we all just worked, and we sat around and opened up the jar and went through everything and iterated and collaborated, and great ideas just kind of came to life. So he taught me the concept that ideas come from everyone. Ideas don't just come from the high levels, they come from everywhere, which was amazing. He also taught me the power of relationships with clients, that one-on-one conversation, and how important relationships, not deals, relationships are. And he also taught me how to contextualize and frame data and turn it into stories. And so those were things in my life that, I will never forget. I used to sit at a typewriter and do everything. There was no specific roles. We all had accountability for our jobs, but we picked up the garbage if it was on the floor. We helped each other write reports. There was no competitiveness within Video Storyboards. So that was my first job. I actually thought once I got married, I was going to be a stay-at-home mom. I didn't have any examples of working moms that didn't have the work-life balance, the imposter syndrome, the guilt, the regret, all of that. It was only when I discovered my purpose and passion, or what I call my heartbeat moment, that made me realize I need to follow my heart and pursue building crazy stuff that didn't exist in the world. Well, I think, there was an image. I'm very good friends with the former Chief Technology Officer of the United States, Megan Smith, and she really is a role model for me about visibility of women that are doing remarkable things, but have been either invisible or written out of history. And, we could go back to the beginning of time, but she showed me this picture that I will never forget. And it's true, a picture's worth 1,000 words. A picture of the perfect family. So man, woman, so dated even, blonde, blue eyes, with the perfect children, boy, girl, blonde, blue eyes. And they were standing in front of the White House. This is a picture like See Jane Run, like from so long ago from the archives. And what was interesting about this picture is the parents and the daughter were standing back and the little boy was in front of the White House. What does that say? Already stereotypes. So, See Her is such an important movement. I'm proud to be a co-founder. If you can see her, you can be her. It's all about the accurate portrayal of girls and women in media and entertainment. And when you think about where these images come from, media defines culture. When you think about all the ads on TV, all the print ads, all of the programs you watch with the roles, women in STEM fields, women in professional roles. And this is where when you Google, if you Google CEO, and so many studies have been done, you're going to get the white man that pops up. Or if you Google astronaut, you're going to see the men. Unless we get more women in tech, which is why we need more women in tech, to also start populating with more of those images and more of the stories and all of those things. And so See Her was created a few years ago. And one of the things that we did was we also created a GEM score, a gender equality measure. I always say equality is a choice, unconscious bias is an excuse. If you use the word unconscious, you're conscious. Once aware, you have a choice. Do you want to do something or not? It's about the visibility of women in media and entertainment, but it's also about holding marketers accountable for the messages, the media that they buy into. That affects change for all of us. When you add more women to any equation, there's a return on equality. And so our pop-ups have been specific industries. Sports, marketing, media, advertising, research, technology, world leaders, finance, television, film, across the board. That's how we impact change. And so since COVID, we've hosted over 320 conversations with over 1,400 speakers all around not just what the problems are, but how we create the solutions for change, how we create the action steps for change, and how we create accountability for change in a collaborative fashion. We are uniting the world through the power of women in over 100 countries across 6 regions. So by the end of the year, we'll have 150,000 women connected through our dinner series, which is pretty exciting. So that's really what our community is about. And so that's our goal, is really to light up the world, energize the world through our energy and our transformative, passionate powers. There's 2 quotes that I'm obsessed with. One is Oscar Wilde, where he says, "Be yourself because everyone else is taken." And that is particularly important to me because I have always felt, pre-becoming chief troublemaker, that I'm supposed to conform to the leadership qualities of all the men that have preceded me. And I was the only female CEO top 25 my whole career. And it was another heartbeat moment where I decided there's so many people that are the same. My difference is my greatest strength, and I have to unlock my differences, which is when I found that confidence from within to be me consistently. It was an important message to others to bring your best self to the table. The second quote that I'm obsessed with is Sarah Jessica Parker's in a show. I don't know how she does it. She says, "Trying to be a man is a waste of a woman." And that to me was another important moment, that there's the masculine, decisive, linear, aggressive, assertive, then the feminine, compassionate, nurturing, passionate, empathetic, collaborative. That's who I am. And so why am I allowing, people to tell me there's no room for emotion in the boardroom to define me? When I was told that, we talk about emotion or as a weakness. I think being empathetic is our greatest strength. And so, when I was told there was no room for emotion in the boardroom, I had 2 options. Either agree and say, you're right, I'm just going to be a assertive, aggressive, linear leader. I know I can deliver a great bottom line, but I'm supposed to operate with that, strength. And then, or do what I did, which was write a speech saying, bring emotion to the boardroom and to thousands, and to start a new conversation, not an evolved conversation from the past, but a new conversation for today and for tomorrow and for the generations to come. That leadership and the greatest strengths of leadership, in my opinion today, are those of empathy. Someone actually just said, the new CEO, instead of chief executive officer, should be chief empathy officer. How do we start creating the new lexicon for change and start recruiting conscious, empathetic leaders to run corporations, to run the world? That's how we create the next wave of change. When you love what you do, it's called passion. When you don't, it's called stress. So come filled with passion and that energy. Number one. Number two, be you. I have a no regret policy. My no regret policy. I never want to look back in life and say shoulda, woulda, coulda. And I can guarantee you that today, I'm 58 years old, no one will ever remember the meeting that I didn't show up at or the trip that I didn't take. But the people in my life that I prioritized will always remember that I was there in the moments that mattered.